author of A Recruiter Guy's Guide to Finding a Job, our friend, recruiter guy Bill Humbert, here in studio. Welcome.
Thank you, Joe. It's great to be back.
Well, it's great to have you here, as always. I find it not only entertaining, but intellectual to spend all the time with you.
Well, my teachers and professors may have thought otherwise, but
mine too, which is probably the point. Yeah, if I was, maybe you help me find a job.
There you go.
People might think I have one right now.
You do. You're sitting here.
That's right.
You're interviewing me.
Indeed. No, it's fun always to get to talk to you about that, because there are so many facets to the job search, both on the side of the employee and the employer, and that part of it. And I think you have always been able to give us a take on the employer part that most people can't, because we all have had the opportunity to be an employee. Right. I think not all of us have had the opportunity to be a large-scale employer, or maybe even a small-scale employer. And those all have varied facets depending on where you are in that range of company size and things. Mm-hmm. But there are so many things that are similar too, that if we just knew them, make things a little easier to be a good candidate.
Well, and then also to attract the good candidates too, because a lot of times the companies don't understand that the market for candidates changes, and especially with each generation as they
That's a good point.
Get into it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, you think about the types of generation. We had the greatest generation, mm-hmm. super hardworking people, mm-hmm. but damaged in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And that created some interesting, if you look at over the years, I mean, drinking in the office was typical. Yep. Smoking in the office, anything, frankly, to get by would have been typical in that era. And that may be a part of that, part and parcel of that. And now, we've had generations that have been described as lazy. We've had, generations that have been described as, unexcitable. Mm-hmm. Different things that just kind of go with, I suppose, as you say, the generations. The millennial generation has definitely been hit on quite hard in the market as being entitled. We've certainly heard that word a lot, mm-hmm. right? Sometimes lazy, often understimulated, mm-hmm. right? So it seems that there's a lot of work to do to attract a good millennial.
There is, Joe. It comes down to understanding them. Okay. Just like anything else. I enjoy reading these books about the different generations, because what I see a lot of times is that they talk about how the generation wants to, when they're young, wants to know their job is important. This is, in each generation. And I go, well, when I was 20, I wanted to know my job was important to the company too.
Uh-huh. So that's something we all have in common.
We do have that in common. There's probably more in common than not in common.
I would agree.
And therefore what you have is, what are the slight differences?
And what are the things that are the tools of communication for those? That's the thing that may be different.
That's part of it. Right? That's correct.
All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. Let's start with motivation for a moment. So could we talk about understanding motivation and why it's important?
Motivation is very important because every job requires a different style of motivation. There are people who are more of a internal type motivation, self-motivated is how they're described. And then you have the people who are more externally motivated. So they call it transaction motivation. And those people are great commission salespeople because that's what drives them. Probably the best book I've ever read on motivation is Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us by Daniel Pink.
Okay.
It's an amazing book because it actually uses research instead of the uncommon common wisdom.
Right.
And it is amazing as a book that really helps you understand how to go about motivating people and what's important to the people who have different types of motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what this is really all about is, as an employer, unfortunately, it is a little bit incumbent upon you to do to have the job be something that is stimulating and somehow motivates, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
we don't want to put that ownership on the employee necessarily, do we?
Well, the employee doesn't know. They don't know, especially the new one, they don't know the culture. They're just learning what their job is. Motivation for them is out here somewhere. It's incumbent on the hiring manager who's going to manage that person.
Right out of the gate, chapter 2, 7 reasons carrots and sticks often don't work. That's kind of funny because so many employers think that that's what it's all about. If I just stick a carrot out in front of somebody, if I dangle it enough, if I add a little bit to to it alone, that's enough. But eventually, people get tired of chasing the carrot.
They do. It's just like the greyhounds chasing the mechanical rabbit around.
Yeah, you can only do it so many times.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about, once you figured out millennial talent and the fact that their motivation style, where do we go from there?
Well, the next step is to translate that into understanding what the job's going to require, and then from there, picking the right people. So your postings for jobs have to include some of that to draw the right people.
So we need to start that early, and when we're looking, we need to be saying what we're trying to manage.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then, as we take from that, what's the thing that will push them away? What we know we want to figure out what attracts them. What are things we know pushes them away?
Millennials grew up in the time of lean manufacturing, lean process improvement. Today it's called agile. And while they may not have really known that at the time, I think it's really impacted them because they despise waste. They despise wasted effort. They despise anything that is bureaucratic. And when a company on their applicant tracking system requires that person fills out an application prior to any conversation, they leave in droves.
It's amazing, isn't it? I got to be honest, I'm not that group, but I feel the same way now. It seems that the application process is pedantic and outmoded. Am I wrong to say that?
Nope.
It should be simpler. I should be able to send in a resume. It should be of interest to them whether I meet what they're looking for, and then have a conversation with me about all of those other things they might want to know.
Exactly. What's really interesting about that process is that generally the person who's searching the resumes in the applicant tracking system for a position is the least experienced person in human resources.
Great news. You get stuck with it. That makes sense.
And what happens? There are 34 different titles for sales. It could be sales, it could be account rep, account manager, business developer. I've actually had people in HR say to me, he's not involved in sales. He's a business developer. And I'm going,
really? That's not sales? Kind of the highest level of sales, right?
Yep.
You don't have a relationship, there's no sale.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. All right. If you tuned in earlier, you saw me talk about Pokemon Go, and you and I talked about this a little bit. The millennials, the phone is it's permanently attached to them.
It is.
Right?
Is.
I mean, they take it out of the kung fu grip just long enough to charge it.
Yep.
And if they could figure out a way not to do that, they would. But this has become, it is an extension of them. It is critical that we understand this.
It is critical, because also critical inside the company is being able to effectively communicate. And that's either over the phone, on the internet, or email, and personally.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's helpful to ensure that your candidates understand that, hey, our communications over the phone and in person are important, because that helps determine whether you're a good fit, and you want it to be as much a good fit as much as I want it to be a good fit. So it's a 50-50 on that.
You know, the thing that I noticed, and you remember when cell phones first came out, you didn't have one unless your company bought it for you and paid for it, paid for the service. And now the expectation, and I find it, I find it distasteful that the expectation is that you bring your cell phone and your service along with you to your job. Are you kidding me? We're expected to be in 24-hour communication with the job, and we're expected to pay for it. And sometimes it's the way that that all of the communication is happening. And I am amazed, I find it unimpressive that companies don't, and this would be a good one if you want to get a millennial, tell them you're going to pay their bill and that you're going to take care of their service from now on, because you're going to use it to track them, you're going to use it to see how they're doing in the sales, you're going to, whatever the case is, it's going to be, again, it's attached to them.
You're right.
And if you step up and do that one thing, you're going to attract some people.
You are. And the other thing is the IT security side of things. You don't want me just carrying my cell phone into
the preference is to have yours.
Right.
The
the companies, yes. I have a son-in-law.
That's become super important when it comes to, for instance, somebody doing something awful to the company.
Right. And not even intentionally.
Right.
My son-in-law is an IT guy for a company, and recently they gave him his own company cell phone. And the reason, honestly, the reason is they want to have 24-hour contact with them.
Right.
He's got customers he's supporting all over the country, and if their system goes down, he needs to know. And so, as a result, they gave him the company cell phone for that.
So, important part.
It is important.
We have just a moment left. Tell me how we keep these guys and girls once we get them.
Well, we could
millennials.
We could do an entire
on just that.
But it's onboarding. It's a first impression the person gets when they come in. And Joe, I've actually been in companies where a person started at 8 o'clock and went to onboarding, and it was terrible. And by 10 o'clock, they went to the bathroom and never returned.
I can understand. I've been recently at a new company where I still only know 4 or 5 people. And it's so uncomfortable every time I go in.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's a medical records company in Verona, Wisconsin called Epic Systems. And they probably have half of the population's medical records right now because of the hospitals they're dealing with. The University is one of them. And they have a headquarters campus that's growing, and they've created different campuses. One of them's a farm campus. They're now building a campus that is Harry Potter. The buildings look like straight from Harry Potter. It looks, from what I can see driving through, it looks like they're getting ready to build an Alice in Wonderland campus.
Nice.
And they have an 11,000-seat auditorium underground that they call Deep Space.
Wow. That is the kind of motivation a lot of those young people really will like.
They'd be excited.
They feel good to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And an awful lot of the time, that's what it's about. Yeah. I think also of some of these the Disney type companies. Same thing. They attract people by the fact that it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff. All right, lots more to talk about for sure. Recruiter guy Bill Humbert. Come back again. We'll talk more about millennials.
We will.
There's a lot to learn. We're trying to understand you. We are trying.
We're working on it. I'm a baby boomer. We're working on it.
I'm Generation X. We're doing the best we can. All right. A lot more coming up here on the Matt's in the Morning Show as we talk to the Christian Center of Park City next.